Bigfoot caller factor will fart. You be the judge. That's right. All right, everybody. We are back for season 9 of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. And thank each and every one of you for staying with me here. Um, it has been a rough holiday season and a month. But we are definitely moving along. And we are back in the saddle once again. This year, we're going to start to focus on the better things in Bigfoot, because that hoaxing mess from last year just really got me so depressed over the topic. I at the end of the season, I really didn't even want to talk about it anymore. It was really getting to be that bad. Now, for those of you that don't know, pardon me a moment. Right after Christmas, my health fell apart. I mean, it completely went to shit. I got to a point to where I was immobile. I was unable to breathe well, and I was carrying fluid on my body, swelling into my legs. My toes were so swollen that they hurt. It was a scary situation, and the wife finally convinced me to go to the hospital on the 28th of December, right at 3 days after Christmas. I don't even remember Christmas, to be honest with you. That's how unwell I was. I really don't remember much of December at all, which is actually kind of crazy. But yeah, it turns out that over years of trying to save my knee, I've managed to somehow destroy my liver. So there you have it. Tylenol is the devil. Don't drink too much water, and walk every day. Those are the 3 things that I can give you as advice. If you are in your 20s or 30s now, stop taking Tylenol. Stop taking all that over-the-counter crap and just get the issues fixed. It is not worth destroying your liver. Basically, it has 4 stages of failure, and I'm at about 3.7. So yeah, without them saying, well, we're going to put you on a list for a new one. Yeah, I'm up there pretty good, and for the old disclaimer that that the liver will heal itself. Yes, a slight little bump in your liver, yeah, it'll probably heal itself. But if you abuse it, no, it doesn't. It turns into scar material, and that's where the different phases of the disease come into. We're hoping through, management and some medication, we can help the liver do its job and keep everything off of my heart. But yeah, it's just to a point that it's going to be a lifetime of changes of diet and everything else. Now, when I went into the hospital, the day that I went into the hospital, they weighed me in there at intake at 313 pounds. Now, I know I didn't weigh 313 pounds. That was, I knew that to be a fact. I had just spent nearly 2 years walking and drinking water and, eating high protein, low carb diet. There's no reason. I had been complaining for weeks and, actually a couple of months to anybody that would pretty much listen, that I felt like a bloated bag of chips. And when I went into the hospital, it turns out, well, that's pretty much exactly what had happened. My liver was in such distress that by over drinking the fluids and eating a high salt diet, it just retained every bit of water that it could. And, I was drinking a gallon of water a day, but I was only evacuating, not even a liter. That's the wrong way to go when you've got a liver disease going on. So apparently my body decided it was going to store fluid until it couldn't store fluid anymore, and put my heart in distress and sent me to the hospital with a heart rate of sustained at 130 beats per minute. Now, I don't know if you people know anything about heart rates out there, but that's bad news. But 4 days in the hospital, and they tapped me like a turkey baster to take 9 liters of water off of my abdomen. With a whole bunch of water pills and a whole bunch of time and exercise, I've managed to get all the way down to 215 pounds. That's nearly 100-pound loss since I went into the hospital just, 33 days ago. So apparently my body's decided that it wants to go back to normal now. And the liver doctor that I have doesn't exactly have the best bedside manner, but he is the best man in the area for the job, and his staff is fantastic. So I think we're going to be able to manage this and, get another 25 or 30 years out of the old Reverend here, and we'll see where we are by the time I'm 70. I don't want to live till I'm 90. Those are the worst years going on, but this is something that you die from eventually. There is no, it doesn't heal itself. Once it's scar material, there is no going back. This is just the way it is now. And well, they kept looking for the meth head alcoholic that liked to lay with dirty girls, and I wasn't me. That wasn't who I was. I couldn't believe the number of people that asked me if I do meth, or whether I was an alcoholic, or if I ever had hepatitis. I mean, there had to have been 8 or 9 different doctors that asked me these things. And it was like, no, I would love to blame this on, partying, drinking, and laying with dirty girls, but that's not what happened. So it's we're gonna get there. And fortunately for me now, without that extra 100 pounds on me, my mobility is starting to come back pretty quick. I'm walking quarter mile, half mile at a time, 2-3 times a day. So I'm really starting to put some mileage under my feet. And, before summertime, I'll be back in the woods squatching and doing the things that we love to do to keep ourselves sane in the meantime. Oh man, I want to take a chance to just say thank you to everybody who's supported me through all of this. I mean, it really has made me feel like family. I mean, we're all broken in our different ways, and we all come together here and share our healing light every week. And if that's what the show is about, well, then we'll continue to do it until I can't do it no more. But yeah, although I'm greatly improved, I am definitely not well, and I just have to remind myself that I'm barely out of the hospital a month, and it's going to take time. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to go away overnight. But yeah, the salt and the over-the-counter medications. Don't overdrink water, and if you're out exercising, drink it. But apparently, that's bad for you too. Even water's bad for you. I can't breathe the air. I can't drink the water. At this point, I might as well go to smoking meth, drinking alcohol, and laying with dirty girls. If it's going to kill me that fast, I might as well go ahead and enjoy the rest of my time. But such is life. I was not eating lots of salt. It was just a matter of over a 2-gram diet on a bad liver. 2 grams of salt per day. That's 2,000 milligrams of sodium is all you are allowed. Take a look at that McDonald's burger, and you figure out whether you have a high salt diet too. Anyhow, let's take a chance here. Take a minute to say hi to everybody that's joined us here for the first night out tonight. We got Mr. Dean Cooper. He's always our quasi scientist, and we're gonna get his brain working right again, because we're gonna get some new quasis coming out of the Dean Cooper camp, our quasi theorist. There's Mr. James the Grower. Been a while since he's caught us live. So glad that he is here with us. Aaron and Mary Duncan say, hey, that's right, Gold Beach, Oregon. So glad you are here with us, and we are doing our best. We are still going to get there in June. We have the dates. The time is off, and we're making travel arrangements as it is. So keep the plan going. We're going to go gold mining in Oregon come June. Can Squanch is in the house tonight. Hello there, Can Squanch. And there's Don Rife. Hey, buddy, I hope you're doing well. I hope they got your heart squared away. I know you were working on it. Mr. Frank Smith's in the house, and he's always up late listening to us here. So we want to make sure we say hi to him. And we say hello to Mr. Shane Barber. Shane's checked on me several times. I'm so glad that, you guys are out there. I appreciate it. It was a scary situation the whole time I was in the hospital. But once I got home, things got better. But it was pretty terrifying. Oh, Josu Salazar. Hello there, Josu Salazar. Glad you are hanging out with us tonight, as long as Mr. Ken doesn't get any of that stuff all over your face, we'll probably be okay. Moving down the road here a little bit. Hello, there's Miss Bella. Hello, Bella Allegria. Glad you are with us tonight. And the Grasshopper et al. Hello there. Hello there. Rod Dupree. He's always in the place to be. So glad he could join. You could join us here tonight as well, sir. And Tim McCune. Hello there, Reverend. The Reverend Tim McCune, the Reverend Dean Cooper, the Reverend Rod Dupree. Mary, did you get Aaron a reverendship yet? Let's see here. Moving on down the list here a little bit. Kaiju Ninja 1985. Hello there. Glad you are with us tonight. Trey Thomas. Hey man. Yep, we are there. We're starting to get there. No, it's not getting well, but we're getting better little by little. And there is the Prairie Fire. Hello there, Prairie Fire. So glad you could join us tonight. All right. Now to get into our subject tonight, it's basically coming down to it. To feed or not to feed the Sasquatch. That was one of the topics I wanted to talk about, when it really comes down to it. A lot of investigators, they set out and they bring special foods that they're gonna leave out and gift in some way of attracting a Sasquatch into camp or into their favorite gifting location. And I get to pondering how smart of an idea that really is. I mean, in most cases, now we've heard about, gifting and feeding, and it's basically baiting a wild animal, which is illegal in every single state that I'm aware of. To make a wild animal dependent upon humans for food is just the absolutely wrong way to go, especially with the Sasquatch. We need those animals to stay where the hell they are and leave the human population alone, because it's going to be better off for everybody when we do that. But why is it that when they go out and they do all of these, they do these gifting of food, and they put up apples at 12 feet in height and say that only a Sasquatch could come and get that, when, well, I've seen raccoons climb up and down a slick ass pine tree in the middle of a wet rainstorm. They don't really care. But we don't have any pictures or videos of what's taking these gifts or this bait that we're leaving out for the animals. Now, of course, if you're Todd Standing Productions, of course, you have video of a black hand that comes from behind a log that takes an apple, but there's nothing to go along with it, and it just looks like one of those black movie magic arms, to say the absolute least. But what do you bait a Bigfoot with? Now, I've been out in investigations where we've done it. It was actually during deer season. We went down to the proper areas and onto the proper into the proper draw. We took a doe. We took a buck, and then we brought it back to camp and butchered it, and gut bagged it, and pretty much drugged the gut bag as a trail leading right back out into the field across from where our base camp was set up, to see what we could entice to come in and get to that gut bag. And well, lo and behold, about 2 a.m., something starts rattling down the trail, and it gets louder and louder and starts sounding like heavy footfalls. And then all of a sudden, an entire pack of coyotes come flying out of the tree line underneath my hammock while I was sleeping. And I mean, I literally had coyote tails slapping my ass. They weren't there to attack me. No, they were going after that gut pile that was out in the middle of the field. So, are you going to be successful in your endeavors if you just go out randomly and leave apples or bananas or, for that case, deer liver and guts out somewhere that the animals would want to come and find it and eat it? I've seen them go as far as, they hang food from bags so that, well, that for sure, we'll make sure that, we hang that bag at 12 feet. We know bears can't get to it because, that's what we do to make sure that bears don't get it, is we hang food in the air like that. But that doesn't mean that something else doesn't come along, pick it down, and then it's laying on the ground for everybody to come and eat. I think it confuses the wildlife in the area that you're trying to observe in its natural environment. And that becomes the question: is that worth the overall failure of not seeing a Bigfoot come after your bait to begin with? Because now you've got other animals that may or may not attract Bigfoot or detract a Bigfoot from the area. Like, we know that the cows in our research location, when the cows are in thick and heavy, the Bigfoot are not. So wherever the cows are in thick and heavy, we take our investigation out of that area to where the cows are not. And that's usually when we start to hear audio and find some other instances where the possible Sasquatch activity has occurred. And, is that more important of knowing what drives them out of the area than actually knowing what would try to draw them into a specific area? I mean, if we had video of somebody of Sasquatch eating something specific, if we had video of it foraging literally a hillside for a particular succulent, or if we had video of it, grabbing a particular fish from the water, we would have a real good idea of what to bait it with. But because some schmo 25 years ago said, "Oh, apples attract Bigfoot. Bigfoot like apples. Use apples to attract Bigfoot." Like, hundreds of investigators across the country that Bigfoot and apples. Yeah, we're going to use apples to bait Bigfoot. And I just don't understand the mass, the mass thinking when it comes to, well, it worked one time, so it must work every single time. And then you start to wonder. I've seen, I've seen all kind of bait used, from, women's hygiene products to pheromone chips with, whatever you would think that a Sasquatch would like to be mixed up in. And it just never seems to come up with any real results. And I really think it's coming back down to how we're investigating and why. Everybody just kind of picks a location and goes there. Well, when was the last time a Sasquatch was seen there? Heard there? Are there any stories that come out of there from that? Or is it just wild habitat that might have a Sasquatch? Because if that's the kind of if that's the kind of investigation you're looking to go to, you're better off just parking at a trailhead somewhere and walking off trail for a few miles and setting up camp and seeing what wildlife and what wild things happen around you, and observe it and find out for sure. That's where those types of investigations would start from. Much like trail cams, we're not using trail cams in the proper way. Sure, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of trail cams out there just looking for Sasquatch activity, just trying to get a picture of Bigfoot. We know that's a postage stamp when it really comes down to it. I mean, it's 190 million acres in one national forest here in the Sierras. I mean, where do you start? 190 million acres? One camera can't even cover an acre. So, you're going to have probably 6 or 8 cameras to cover out that acre properly. So you're talking about 190 million times, 8. So you're talking about almost 1 billion cameras to cover one national forest. And that's still not even going to cover every single part of the national forest. It's going to be far more important to put cameras on activity you have already found than it's going to be using it to find activity. And I think that's going to be the I think that's going to be the key to it. Is sure, put your cameras up, but don't really plan on them catching anything. And if they don't, move them. Don't continue to just, it's like a fishing spot. If it doesn't catch any fish, you move on to another spot that might have fish in it. You just don't continue to throw the same cameras up in the same locations over and over and over again, unless you are just doing an audit of the wildlife in the area. And then that's a completely different type of subject. But if you have a trail cam, you're going to be far better off, especially if it has like the picture taking ability to where it'll take a picture every 10 or 20 seconds, to set that sucker up on a meadow somewhere. Set it up high in a tree overlooking a meadow and let it take a picture every 20 seconds during daylight hours and let it rest during nighttime hours. And that sucker will run for 6 months out there. You get a far better idea what's moving in and out of the meadow, and then you can move cameras into those locations to catch those animals. But if you don't see an animal, what is the point of putting a camera on it? I'm still kind of at a loss for that. It's following, watching a lot of the investigators out there flounder trying to emulate what goes on in the TV is kind of it's humorous, but it's also like just draining at times, because it's like, we've seen this before and everything old is new again. The Travel Channel is doing that right now. They're taking a whole bunch of pieces and parts of old Bigfoot stuff that I guess a production company owns, and they're putting it together in different segments, and they're calling it a new show. So, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming up about the Sierras and, the investigations and some of the sightings that have gone up there. So I think we're going to get it wrapped up here for this week. I told you it was going to be a short show. I just got to get my brain wrapped around it. But next week, to start off, we're actually going to have us a guest not in the studio, but virtually in the studio. With all the new shows that are coming up. My buddy Justin Smeha is going to join us next Wednesday, and we're going to talk about some of the craziness that he has to deal with here, even 10 years later, when we've tried to clear up the air several times before. We're going to try it one more time. So he's been investigating the last couple of years, and he'll help us get caught up with what he's doing here in the Sierras and in some of the other states as well. So we will be right back here next week at 8 p.m. Wednesday. And I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to say hi to Miss Natalie Smith. If Wheezy is with you, hello, Miss Wheezy. Y'all can restart it from the beginning. It's a short show tonight. Next week, we will have a Bigfoot campfire story and hopefully a new quasi theory. So we'll see you next week with an in-guest studio, with an in-studio host, a guest. And for now, I love you. We'll see you next week. And may the Squatch be with you.